Good. How are you?
I'm good. What's new with the software updates?
We had another wave of FSD rollouts over the weekend. Not a huge wave, but it's just basically continues the rollout of V12.5.4.1, which is the latest version outside that 12.5.6 that is still not released to most of us. It's only so 12.5.6 is only has a very small rollout to early access customers, and it has been on hold for a while. So at this point, we probably should expect another version coming out anytime. But the 12.5.4.1 is the primary version right now, so it's went to majority of the fleet. I posted actually the graph with the latest version breakdown. FSD version breakdown. So between 12.5.4 and 12.5.4.1, it's about half of the fleet now in the US and Canada has that version installed, not necessarily activated, but installed. And then 12.3.6 still has a big share, but most of it is not non-eligible. And that's because the primary version out there, 2024.32.7, is not FSD specific, but it's the dominant version in the world right now. It's not eligible for this update. It cannot get 12.5.4.1. And the reason for that is that even though the build number is smaller, 32.7 versus 32.10, it cannot upgrade to 32.10 just because it was a more recent version release. So it may have some features in it that didn't make it into 32.10, and because of that, it's not upgradable to that one. So essentially, anyone who is on 2024.32.7 will have to wait for another version that will incorporate all the changes from both branches. Until then, it's they cannot get the latest FSD. However, that version is primarily intended for those who don't use FSD. So majority of those people actually don't use FSD, don't subscribe, don't own it, or had a mistake of putting it on hold. So just a warning to anyone who has a subscription. So if you put your subscription, FSD subscription on hold, Tesla may decide to put you on the latest user interface version, which is 32.7 right now. And that may delay you getting the latest FSD in the future. So if you want to have FSD, keep your subscription up and running.
All right, thank you. Hustle would you like to summarize that?
Sure thing. I got a little time. We've got FSD versions going out for 12.4.5.1. There's a vast majority of individuals that are on 12.3.6, but I guess those cars aren't eligible for some reason. But it just gives me a lot of confidence that they're pushing out updates to as many cars as possible.
Thank you. About Tesla, how would you answer the question? Like if somebody asks you, why don't have the latest updates? What can I do to get the latest FSD updates? How do you answer the question usually?
Well, first and foremost, make sure you have FSD subscribed. So if you don't own FSD, you need to stay subscribed because if you don't, as I just explained, you can be kicked. You will be switched to the user interface priority branch, not the one that has the priority updates on the FSD. So that's one thing. The second thing, you want to make sure that you have that option of the enabled, or forgot what it's called, like the priority version update, in the settings. I don't know what effect that has, but it's supposed to prioritize you to some extent. But other than that, there is not much you can do to speed up you getting it's certainly just up to Tesla who gets updated and when. My observation is that Tesla is actually putting most of the fleet on the on FSD on the most recent versions, and right now it looks like most of people who are actually using FSD did get at least 12.5 in one version or one flavor or another.
Thank you about Tesla. All right, well, that's good to know. And Omar and I had a conversation over the weekend, and I published a video on this episode, 25-minute video. So very succinct, and we cover about 10 questions, 5 FSD, 5 Optimus. And the link to that is at the top of our screens. And he specifically answers the question how FSD 13 compares to FSD 12. FSD 13 is rumored to be running on the cybercabs at the event. And we also talked about FSD unsupervised timeline, vision-only approach to FSD unsupervised, and more. I like the Optimus part of the conversation quite a bit, so that's the second half of it. And I highly recommend checking it out. The link is at the top of our screens. Uzi?
Yeah, I enjoyed learning about the supercortex. I wanted to point out one, I guess, not like knowledge question, epistemology. I think the problem with Tesla lately is like the advances in Optimus and in robotaxi have to be felt. I'm not sure how we're going to square that, but there's not much data except for the FSD tracker.
So what do you think is the solution?
I mean, depends on the approach we're interested in, right? I think this space prioritizes a data-driven decision-making approach. So the FSD tracker is what we have now. Omar's in the future will hopefully be better, but at this point, we're sort of rely on anecdotal evidence where we're examining the feel of the driving, comparing that to Waymo, which is kind of tough if you've never experienced it.
Yeah, that's the only option we have at this time, unfortunately. I mean, anecdotal evidence is good too. About Tesla, are you hearing any information, any kind of change in how people feel when they use the software?
I think it's really difficult to judge based on the anecdotal evidence. People tend to post about new issues, for example. So it's those who are happy may not be posting about that that much. So it's usually focused on okay, if there is any regression or if there is any new issue, and immediately that becomes a discussion. But I think the only real way for anyone to judge this is just to use it every day and come up with your own conclusions based on your own experience. That's what I would recommend to everyone who makes any investment decisions based on that, for example.
Thank you. Alexander, how you doing over there?
My jaw is still sore since yesterday. I mean, come on. My pulse raised from like 70 to 150 when they called out the booster catch. Oh my God. I've never seen anything that made me so impressed in my entire life.
Yeah, the coverage of it has been really good too. I honestly, when I was watching it, I was at a coffee shop and I yelled, shrieked, "Holy shit!" And the entire coffee shop looked at me, and I just completely for a second lost where I was, lost track of where I was. Anyway, so I have to explain afterwards what happened. But yeah, I mean, the coverage since the last 24 hours on every channel has been very positive too. I guess it's very difficult to turn that into negative, right? How about Tesla? You follow SpaceX closer, don't you?
Yes, I do. I've been to Boca Chica. I watched an earlier launch this year, and I- eh, what happened yesterday. I mean, I don't think majority of us believe that this would happen. It's just something that could go wrong in so many ways. There are so many variables, so many things. Even Elon Musk himself didn't think it would be a good chance for that to succeed, but they did it, and it's just amazing. It's just unbelievable.
Thank you. Are you an investor in SpaceX, or you don't have to share if you don't want to?
No, I wish I could be, but no, I don't.
Okay, Alexander?
Yeah, you can tell that Elon have had a good couple of days. Now all the bears are taking to X to explain to us why we are all wrong.
Uzi, you follow SpaceX, right? Let's go to, in a second, let's go to Chris G. Chris?
Which third-party apps would About Tesla recommend for keeping track of our own statistics, our own trip statistics?
Yeah, so Chris is Chris is a patron, and he asked in the DMs, or in the community chats on Patreon, that same question. And I was like, the person to ask that is About Tesla. So About Tesla, what do you recommend people do if they want to keep track of their FSD statistics?
Well, I'm probably not the best person to recommend anything because I don't use any apps myself. There are some reasons for that, but one of the old reasons, and I think it's okay to mention it, I was among early beta participants with Tesla, and one of the requirements at that time was not to use any third-party apps. I don't think they have that requirement anymore, especially when the beta became public and widely available. But just historically, I don't use any third-party apps myself.
Okay. Would you recommend Chris to install Tesla 5 or another app, or do you just kind of blanket statement, don't rely on those apps?
No, I have nothing against those using those apps. I'm just saying that I don't have much experience with them, but I'm sure they would give you much more insight if you want to keep track of, how many exactly, what's your percentage of the driving was one way or another, or what else was happening. I think they probably have the good. I just didn't look into those specifics, and I never tried that myself, so that's why I wouldn't be a good source for those kind of recommendations.
Got it. Chris, do you have any other questions, or we couldn't be helpful?
No, thank you very much. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Uzi, how you doing?
I'm doing well. It was a great week last week. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing well. The video with Omar turned out pretty good. It's going well. Alexander?
Yeah, everyone in this space should click at the link at the top and go in and like the YouTube video. So we spread all these good messages around the world.
Thank you, Alexander. I appreciate that. Uzi?
Yeah, liking the link or liking the YouTube videos fuels the space. I do want to say we also have AI amateurs at 8 p.m. Eastern. So it's Monday, a full day of conversation. So whatever it takes to keep it going, support the space in your own way.
Thank you, Uzi. Alexander, can you give us an update on FSD in Europe? What are the next steps?
Well, the next steps is for it to be 2025, and for the UNCEC to pull their thumb out of their behinds and get to a decision.
We're gonna dig into that more, but let's go to Bradford. Bradford, how are you?
Doing good. Here to talk a little Optimus, Cybercab, Revolvin.
Yeah, let's
Where do you
do it. Wherever you want. I see Yoda in the crowd. If he wants to come up, I see Nick in the crowd. He was at the event. He's welcome to come up as well. We can have a discussion, a recap of the We Robot event. Bradford, you were there, right?
Yeah, I was there, and I've also subsequently analyzed video footage. Is my sound all right?
Yeah, it's fine. It's good.
Okay. Yeah, so there were about 2,500 attendees at the event. Everywhere you were Tesla employees, and they were engineers who worked closely on things. Just like minding the line as we came in. I spoke with an aerodynamics engineer. I spoke with someone who's on the design team that worked on the Cybercab. I think multiple people on the design team. So it was really cool, and mainly I just like congratulated them and shared what I expected. I wasn't like trying to plumb them for inside information. I think it's unfortunate the event started so late. There were 2 medical emergencies. They might be a little strict on what they consider a medical emergency. I did a tour earlier in the day, and the ambulance on the lot was working for some reason. They had the light on and people in motion for that. So I don't know if they like have a itchy trigger figure for things or not. They're very serious about safety at Warner Brothers Studios. It is a working studio, so it's not like an amusement park or anything like that. So at the main stage, there was a medical emergency, and then I was in the holding area where there was at least like 500 people, and someone like got too liquored up, and I don't know what happened to them, if they fainted, hit their head. I don't know why they would have been evacuated. But they did like take them away by stretcher and into an ambulance. So what was unfortunate about that is the event started very late. I don't know if it was like over 50 minutes late. That
That's
might
all
have
right.
cut.
Yeah.
It might have cut the presentation short. So people
Yeah,
were
maybe.
wanting more details, and that's what might have done it, because the true goal of the event in my mind, I think the live stream was a side bonus. They had 150 CEOs from companies that are manufacturers and are suppliers for Tesla, but also just suppliers in automotive industry and other industries. I think they wanted those CEOs to both try robotaxi and also have plenty of time interacting with Tesla bot. So I think there was time pressure to keep it short once it started late. So just providing that context, and it may have been a choice Tesla sadly had to make. I think if I was one of those CEOs, I'd be very impressed with what I saw at the event. We were, after the live stream ended, it was over 3.5 hours that the event lasted. None of the Optimus fell down or hurt anyone. So I think that's a testament. I think there were a few times where people saw an Optimus like get rebooted, something like that. Tesla was able to collect a lot of data from folks interacting with Tesla bot. So I think they're going to use that data. And it was rumored that the cars were working on FSD 13, so they got to collect more on that. What I noticed about Tesla bot is it is obviously voiced by an engineer, But it seemed to be like a combination of some human freelance control and like set movements that they had to do. Like I saw it right in front of me do a hula dance, and it looked very similar to a hula dance that I saw in Ken Java's video. So I think like the engineer that was kind of watching through Optimus and interacting with people was like, you know, pressing a button or being in a command to trigger different movements. But I think there was also a capability to freelance some hand moves. And the reason why I say is like a set number of movements is I noticed at the dessert bar, but also when it was out amongst the crowd, the hands would return to the same exact position. So when it was out in the crowd, the hands would return. And Scoble, if you can hop up, we're talking Optimus and about the 1010 Robotaxi event. I noticed the hands when it was on the street would return to a set position at the waist, and at the dessert station they returned to like this the staggered palms up gesture. And I don't think that's a negative, really. I guess, you know, maybe some people were hoping for a fully autonomous AGI Tesla bot, but what it showed was that the Tesla bot was able to safely fall down. It didn't need any cables or harnesses, and is able to do commands on repeat in a very chaotic environment. Maybe in simulation they trained on having a lot of people around it, but like it was a very chaotic environment. And essentially, like each Tesla bot had 4 Tesla bot engineers that were like doing security and like keeping people back like about a yard from the Tesla bot. So like the Tesla bot had room to move around. So I think it was extremely impressive what Tesla bot did. And if I was one of the suppliers that was either going to supply for Tesla bot or get Tesla bot in my factory, I would have been very encouraged by it. And what we haven't seen from any of the other humanoid bot suppliers is like an event like this where they have their bots, and there was no perfect take for the Optimus at the event. It was 3.5 hours of the bot being on display in all its, I'll call it nakedness. Like there wasn't like a perfect where you shoot it 10 times and then you use the best time to put in a video online. So I think that's pretty powerful context. I did a robotaxi ride, a cybercab ride, and it was, I thought the form factor was perfect. It was easy for me to get into. The seat was a little wide for me, but I think it could, it'd be suitable for people who are heavier. So there's, you know, there's an obesity problem in the US. It's not really going to change because Tesla doing robotaxi, and it could have like 2 heavy set people in the 2 seats there. There was a armrest and the 2 cup holders. There was plenty of room, and essentially the doors worked like when you buckle your seatbelt, the door closed, and when you unbuckle the seatbelt, the door opened. And they had an event specific map on there where you set your destination and you hit start ride, and essentially you were on your way. To me, the Cybercab looked aerodynamically perfect for the form factor, and the form factor seemed very utilitarian. So I was very excited about what I saw.
Thanks, Bradford. Robert?
Totally agree. it was really interesting that they really didn't show off very much AI in the robot, and I think that was pretty brilliant. Um, Although a lot of people disagree with me there, so acknowledging the critics. The teleoperation of this was huge engineering. To have 20 robots rolling around, walking around a regular street with thousands of people around and being able to interact with them in real time. And I didn't see anyone fall. I heard somebody else saw one fall. That's the only thing I've heard, that one fell. Is pretty crazy. And it also lets them totally ignore, or totally um, it doesn't let them be compared to anybody else because of the AI. I mean, Figure AI's CEO is giving me shit because he's like, "Oh, my AI is AI run and da da da." Well, Tesla doesn't have any of those comparisons today going on. And they'll have an AI day in the future, whether it's next year or 2 or 3 years from now, it doesn't matter, where they show off what the AI does. This is a significant effort, and that's what we saw last week. And I'm pretty happy with what I saw. The hardware, I've been watching my videos over and over, and like, damn, these people have really done their homework and are making a significant effort. So
Very good. Bradford, when do you think Optimus is going to be involved in production?
Well, we only saw one of the new hand. We don't know how happy they are with the hand, if they're happy with it or not. I think one thing Tesla learned from the various vehicles is that it's kind of a pain to have multiple vehicles where you have different camera position. The controls are a little different. You have some that steer by wire versus the column. So they really want to settle on one form factor where they're really going to drive volume production. I hope they're happy with the hand. It looked really impressive, the video we saw. And if they are happy with it, I don't see why they couldn't start shortly, like in the next 6 months or so.
Wow. So you expect production start in the next 6 months, let's say 6 to 12 months.
Yeah, as long as they're happy with the hand. And one thing Scott Walter has mentioned is that the design of the hips and all that is going to limit the walking speed of Tesla Bot. So if they stick with that current design in the hips, it'll be slow. But like to use it in a factory setting, you really don't need it to be super speedy. So I think the main holdup is the hands. And I also neglected to mention the obvious. They showed us a way that the bot can communicate with us, so that it can have a speaker and a microphone. And to add an API call to an AI large language model, I think be pretty simple for them to do. So I think that would be trivial. So yeah, I felt like very encouraged by it. It was my dream that I would be walking around amongst attendees and that I would be tending the bar. It poured me a drink when I was at the bar. And I noticed when I grabbed the drink, it has like a very firm, it's got a firm grip. So like, I think it wasn't letting go of that, that glass until they knew that
We
they
have
had
a
it.
did you have to fight it for it? Did you have to fight it for your drink? We actually have a related question from Jeffrey Jones, a super chat. Jeffrey asks, what is the strength of the Optimus hand? How heavy shopping bag can they hold? And do they have resistance in feet to maintain balance if bumped?
Well, no one was able really to bump it at the show. The balance did look good. We did see some hip movement from Tesla Bot. You could do the hula, and you have a little hip action there. I think it raised the roof and all that. It wasn't like super exaggerated or crazy with the dance moves, but didn't fall over. I felt like the grip strength was good.
So were you allowed to push it a little bit? Like, were you allowed to touch it?
No, you weren't allowed to do that, nor did they do a handshake.
Gotcha. Let's go to Hustle Town, who may have a question. Hustle Town?
I don't really have a question. I just had an observation from the YouTube live channel. We got over 100 people viewing right now, which is absolutely awesome. So if you're listening to this on X, make sure that you go to the link at the top, get inside the YouTube video and like it. And what I have noticed is that there's a little red box at the bottom of the YouTube live screen. Easy to subscribe. So if you're not subscribed to the channel, there are so many little tidbits that Yaman puts out throughout the week. Subscribe to the channel and you'll get notifications for those as well.
Thank you. I really appreciate that, Hustle Town. It's really helpful to, I think the views on the YouTube channel right now are limited. We're kind of maxed out on how many views we can get given the subscriber count. So even though the likes are, I think the likes are running ahead of the subscription right now. So we have to get the subscriber count now up. That's a limited factor. And the goal is to get to 10,000 subscribers by year end. So that's the goal. And it's moving very well. The channel's growing well. And I want to show you one example here. I watch the Little Lion YouTube channel pretty frequently. And sometimes they get things right, sometimes they get things wrong. But for example, the title at the top of our screens that says Baidu beats Tesla Cybercab is the title of the video. And if you watch the video, it couldn't be further from the truth. I'll give you a couple of notes I took. So even though this car is priced around $20,000 and it has a swappable LFP pack and it's a 4-seater, it has 40 sensors, including 5 LiDARs. So clearly, this is not going to be a scalable robotaxi service. And to kind of come out and say Baidu beats Tesla Cybercab is just clickbait nonsense that misleads people. So to spread facts through this channel, what you can do is go to the top of our screens, hit the like and subscribe button, and help us grow that way. Thank you very much, everybody. And thank you, Hustle Town, for bringing that up. All right. Bradford, what did it feel like to meet Optimus at the event? Can you describe, for those of us who weren't there at the event, can you describe how it felt like?
I'd love Robert to answer first because I think he'll do a better job.
It was pretty incredible to be able to interact with the robot with hundreds of people around, see it play with you a little bit, talk with it. I mean, we all know a human was controlling it and doing the talking, but it was a demonstration of what the future will feel like, and what kinds of things you might be able to do with it. And when it actually is built out, what it would be able to sound like or interact with you like. And I thought it was just incredible to meet it, you know. I don't have much else.
Bradford, what about you? Thank you, Robert.
Thanks.
Yeah, I definitely wanted one, and I could see one being in my house. I felt like I was in the future. I was like so just like over the moon the whole time at the event. I knew like how much work Tesla put into it. I felt like I was in the future. We had at one point I was surrounded by Optimus. I think there were like 4 of them surrounding me in the little walkway, and And then I went from that and got on a robotaxi with Xander Sky from Cyberpulse. It was just is incredible.
Thank you, Yoda.
Yeah, I really try to detail the experience of meeting Optimus in person, in my article, so feel free to check it out. But what was amazing is that, we've all seen Optimus on stage or through a YouTube video. But when it's in person, I think what I like to share with everyone is that it's a mind-bending experience because part of your brain is saying, this can't be real. There must be a person inside of this robotic suit. But then the other part of your brain is saying, well, of course not. No humans can fit in that. So it is a robot. And I think that's what I felt, this sort of cognitive dissonance in the beginning. Then the technical side of me started to observe how it behaved, and it seemed like it's already able to nail the basics. So if you think about the basics of standing up, balancing, not falling down, those things are executed very well already, so that really the Optimus robot can focus on the task at hand, whether it's playing rock, paper, scissors, or doing a dance or whatever it is. Now, the critic will tell you that this is all controlled by someone behind the scenes, which is true. But what's uh, really important is that the uh, hardware is near ready. It's near pencils down. And the important part about that is that as soon as Optimus, from a hardware perspective, reaches a iteration that is factory ready, Elon is going to put 100 of these in the Tesla factory and start training it on tasks. And then we'll iterate from there. So for me, it was the hardware readiness that was incredible.
Thank you, Yoda. Really interesting that Yoda described the cognitive dissonance that he faced when meeting Optimus. I really want to understand the emotional kind of takeaways from meeting Optimus, because I think part of the limiting factor for Optimus in mass scale is going to be acceptance in society. And we talked about this with Omar on my YouTube channel that was published on Sunday. And I recommend watching that video. It's only 25 minutes. We talked FSD, Cybercab, and as well as Optimus in the second half. And I'm really getting different answers from a lot of people. Every single person I ask, how did it feel like to meet Optimus? I'm getting different answers from each person. And I think this is a very important topic. And by the way, we're going to focus on this topic tonight in AI Amateurs as well, because it relates to both spaces. So that's at 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Central, 5 p.m. Pacific. Let's go to, wow, so many hands. And I see Sierra in the crowd if she wants to come up and talk about the pronouns for Optimus as well. I'm curious about her take as well. Let's go to Bradford real quick. Bradford?
Yeah, I didn't feel threatened by Optimus. Maybe it helped to have a hat on Optimus and a party outfit. I kind of want to ask Robert about this. I kind of feel like Tesla could start a side business where they take a small fleet of Optimus with the bot engineers, and they rent them out at parties, and you could really gather.
Let me grab the other hands on the topic before we change topics real quick. Let's go to Yoda and then Sierra.
Yeah, my take is that the design of the Optimus being roughly 5 to 10% smaller than, let's say, an average adult makes it quite approachable. The Optimus current style of walking, which is sort of somewhat C3PO like, makes it sort of approachable. So I think no one felt threatened that this thing was gonna come after you, and now you couldn't outrun it. The magic is in the upper body of Optimus, obviously, eventually the brain, but also the hands, the arms. That's gonna perform most of the tasks, and obviously that's true of humans as well. I would like to, well, go ahead, and then I like to cut to the chase with the opportunity later.
Okay, thank you. Let's go to Sierra. Sierra, welcome. Do you agree with me, first of all, that part of the limiting factor on Optimus at mass scale is going to be acceptance by society, people feeling comfortable? And I discussed this topic with Omar as well. The link is at the top of our screens, among other topics. And he said, keep in mind that this was an event of Tesla fans who are very early adopters, investors, and it may not be the same reaction when Optimus is at that scale. And I agree with that. So Sierra, the question for you is, do you agree first that acceptance by the society is going to be a limiting factor? And then secondly, I would like you to elaborate on the pronouns for Optimus, because you mentioned, I believe on AI Amateur Space last week, that it's very important to not refer to it as a he or a she, and we must stick to referring to as an it. And I would like to understand that better.
Sure. So first on adoption, I think there will be resistance from the general public, but at a certain point, just like AI tooling that we use now, the advantage of those who are utilizing it is sure to lure in a percentage of people, because you will be disadvantaged not having this type of technology at your what is the word that I'm looking for? Available to use. So just the mere efficiency that will be added to the lives of those who are utilizing humanoid bots to do mundane tasks for them, or in the force, you're going to 10x your productivity, and then even more so if you have multiple bots. So I think the advantage of those that possess the technology will kind of force social adoption. But as you mentioned, it was it was all Tesla people at the event. So the response is definitely different than what we'll see in the general public. I'm excited to see how that plays out, but I think it's kind of unknown right now. We can go to Uzi's hand if you want before I jump into robot pronouns.
Sure, Uzi.
Yeah, something we talked about last week in AI Amateurs was the potential politicization of Optimus or other humanoids. Drawing in some current events with the port workers striking over automation. You might see, I guess, manual laborers really have a resistance to Optimus, but the gains will greatly outweigh the short-term pain. I'm a free market sort of guy, so innovation drives our collective success.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with both of you that in the longer term that these things are true, but in the shorter term, they just play out so slowly, like even with the strike that Uzi mentioned, labor unions are exceptionally strong, in very strong position. They kind of delayed it a couple of months, but they already got most of what they want. And the fact that they can even negotiate for no automation when other countries are seeing their ports pretty much 100% automated is wild to me. So it's really hard to implement these things. And now you can make the same argument about FSD. Like FSD with human supervision is already much safer than just a human alone. And yet we're seeing many states in the US resisting against Tesla. And we're seeing countries in Europe resisting against FSD. So, I agree with you in the next 10, 20 years, but in the next few years, I think it's going to be more friction than people think. Let's go to Robert and see what his thoughts are on the topic.
I think this lets them bring it out into public and not have a news event, right? Everybody knows now that Tesla is working on humanoid robots, that they have hardware that is capable. I also think that they might be working in the factory like now, not next year, not 2 years from now, because they're going to be using that teleoperation to train the AI to do more and more tasks over time and build the AI that will actually run the robot someday. Yeah, you have to put it in context of the whole event too. The whole event was really like a master plan for Tesla for the next decade, right? Elon used to write master plans to tell us what will come from Tesla over the next decade. This was the master plan. We were in it. There was Teslas rolling by without humans in it. There was Optimuses walking around with crowds around them. There was a robo van where we could see that there's going to be a variety of different vehicles, not just Model 3s and Model Ys and Model Xs out in the future, right? And in that context of this was a celebration of the future, or a master plan for Tesla for the next decade, this was real impressive,
Yeah. Thank you very much. The other thing I noticed is with FSD specifically, and to the extent this is applicable to Optimus adoption by the society, if people understand how this software works, they're more welcoming in some of the ways that FSD can differ from humans. For example, FSD in previous versions, it's not so much anymore in these latest versions, but in previous versions, it would break suddenly, even if there's a small probability of an accident, in a way that a human wouldn't. But if you understand how the software is optimizing for safety in those previous versions rather than convenience, you were less likely to give up on it. And I think this is also why it's important that Tesla Live and AI amateurs succeed and grow audience. So if you'd like to help that process along, please go to the top of your screens, click into that YouTube link, and hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. I'm going to give everyone 30 seconds to do that while I read the audio ads for our sponsors. And then we're going to switch to talk about Tesla stock while Bradford is still with us. I want to get his views on the stock price reaction as well as the upcoming earnings release. So 30 seconds for audio ads as soon as I find them. All right, what the hell? All right. Tesla Live is proudly sponsored by Paymore, your trusted destination for buying, selling, trading, and recycling electronics. At Paymore, you can buy the latest gadgets and great prices, sell or trade your used electronics for cash or store credit, or recycle old and broken devices responsibly, reducing electronic waste. Thank you, Paymore, for supporting Tesla Live. And Joa. Tesla Live is proudly sponsored by Joa, your go-to source for premium Tesla accessories. At Joa, you'll find innovative charging solutions, stylish interior upgrades, protective gear, and cutting-edge tech add-ons. Use promo code TSLA Live at checkout to receive a special discount on your next purchase. Thank you, Joa, for supporting Tesla Live and the Tesla community. All right, Bradford, how much more time do you got?
I got 5 minutes.
Cool. I know you were reducing your weight a little bit on Tesla before the event, and the stock dropped about 8-9% after the event. Are you adding back here?
It's tempting. Yeah, that the stock happened to be around 250 then, and we've tended to be a buyer like around 200 and sell around 250. I am a financial advisor, it's not financial advice. So The run up before the event was actually like the week before the event week. I think that's when the run up to the event was. But then we got the SmackDown obviously on Thursday or Friday. What else there? We know Goldman Sachs, those calls they were recommending, that didn't go very well. I wish I sold those exact calls.
Yeah, that was very unusual for them to do that, wasn't it?
Yeah, I've never heard of an investment bank recommending calls. I don't remember anything on a major stock in the last 10 years where an investment bank has recommended calls like that.
Yeah. Makes you wonder, makes you think. Anyway,
Yeah, I as I said when you asked me about it the day they announced it, like their nickname is Vampire Squid. They basically traded against their clients during the great financial crisis. Basically took the opposite position. They shorted the mortgage bonds, the subprime mortgage bonds. They shorted them when their clients were long them. And essentially like synthetically shorted them, so they weren't even shorting the actual bonds or something like that. So allegedly.
exactly. That's why we have Tesla Live, to get to the bottom of things. Bradford, what do you expect before you head out? What do you expect for the Q3 earnings in general?
I wouldn't be surprised by a recovery in the stock, but we don't think earnings is going to cause some kind of spike. This past quarter, my major concern is that essentially Tesla China has been forced to sell more of their production to China directly. And where that hurts is like they're not selling as many threes to Europe, and they get a higher price when they sell the made in China Teslas in Europe. So they didn't have that benefit this last quarter. One thing that went well this quarter is we really didn't have any price cuts. We only had the 0% financing after quarter end. Yeah, and I'd say like the other concern I had before production and delivery came out is it seems like Model Y production at Giga Texas has been kind of stuck, and I guess it's been that way with Giga Berlin too. And we also saw Megapack come down.
All right, thank you very much. Thanks for coming up, and I'll chat with you next time. Lex Spirit, do you have a question?
I did, but someone else already brought the topic up. I can just kind of follow up on that. The robot, the Optimus bot, could be also sold as is and just have a remote control operator set up for the buyer. Sell it for like 100,000, 150,000, so you can like remotely control this robot to go into dangerous locations or do things that you don't want to be in the presence of the area. And Tesla can use the information they gain from that to train, just like they do with the cars. So I just want to put that out there.
Alexander, what do you think of that idea?
Yeah, I think it's a good idea. One thing I schemed on was having a bot in every emergency vehicle. Then you could have a real doctor in the case of an emergency, ready to treat a patient.
Sierra, what do you think? Would you, if you were Elon today, would you sell the bot as is, or maybe like just a bit more advanced on the hardware? Let's say you're set on the hardware, but it's not perfect. It's making mistakes, just like FSD does. Would you sell it as is?
I think no, actually. I think the stakes are a bit higher for humanoid robots, especially as Tesla has the best manufacturing capability to produce these at scale. I don't think they want a product out in the wild that is less than ideal. Yeah, I don't think so. I think that it will likely have perfected some general labor tasks first, and that is the market that they will target, kind of like what was down in the brief commercial that they played during the event. Household chores, they showed it watering plants. I don't think they showed it folding anything, but we already know that it can, carrying groceries, etc. And then it will probably, this is just speculation, but move into repetitive manual labor markets. So the same repetitive manual tasks before expanding to more dangerous scenarios like what were just brought up where a mistake could mean loss of life or injury. I think it would be very unwise. Now, in like a factory setting, perhaps they likely will enable you to train specific tasks, but I don't think the consumer will be responsible for a majority of the training that happens for these bots. I think that they're going to work right out of the box, so to speak, which just made me wonder if they will come in a box.
Yeah, thank you. Robert, where do you stand on that? Sierra just disagree with Last Spirit and Alexander about putting humanoids into the wild before they're near perfect. Where do you stand?
I think it's too early to do that. Beyond very limited trial with maybe a major partner or something like that, it has to. Let me just think about this a little bit. There's clearly an AI training program underway. I want to see it actually run on AI without a human before we really start deploying it out into places. I mean, I get that I'd love to have it on ambulances too, but it's not ready. It can't step down. It can't be safe, right, without a handler around, right? It's just not ready for that yet. In a year, in 2 years, sure, we're going to see a lot of these start to get deployed in various places, but for engineering purposes to get the AI done.
Okay, let's give another word to Alexander because I think he wants to clarify, and then we're going to go to the other hands. Alexander?
Yeah, my point was it's ready for teleoperation, not for autonomous use.
Okay, so Alexander is saying Tesla should put Optimus out into the wild, into customers, for even if it means they're going to get teleoperated, as Light Spirit also suggested. And so I guess like what I don't really understand is I need a more clear distinction between why it's okay to do for FSD but not for Optimus. Okay, so let's go to Wessex. Wessex?
Hey, I mean, I was going to comment on third quarter earnings. So if you want to skip me, and
No,
come back,
we
that's fine.
moved on. Yeah, we moved on. Let's go to Hustletown.
Yeah, I see it like this. If it's being teleoperated or manually operated by a user, their liability would be to the person that owns the Optimus, much like the vehicle is. And so if you send it out to customers, not only can they operate it and use it for tasks like putting it on an ambulance, as long as the doctor, the operator, is okay with using it in that situation. He could opt to not to do it, or he could opt to use it. If it is as good as, say, like when I get into my Model X, I don't have to put it on FSD. I can drive it manually and expect it to perform exactly like I want it to on the road. So it's obviously Optimus isn't there yet, but give it a little bit of time. You'll be able to manually operate this thing as if you are that robot. And once it gets to that level, it doesn't need to have its brain perfected on tasks if the operator is going to assume liability and then perform the task.
Okay, Yoda.
Yeah, if I may just kind of take everyone to the future a little bit here. I think so far we've been thinking about Optimus, rightly so in terms of use cases, grocery pickups, delivery, etc. And that's all fine. But I think maybe the right way to look at Optimus is that it is a platform. This platform has both intelligence and labor. Now, what can you do with such a platform? Now, if we go back to maybe the old days of the Egyptian times, the king had sort of access to labor it controlled. And what did it come up with? It came up with back then what was, probably the marvel of the world, the pyramids, and it deployed that labor to build something grand like that. Now, of course, today we're not going to build a pyramid, but if labor approaches zero cost, and you add on top of that labor artificial intelligence, what is the potential of what a nation, a business can create? Now, obviously, you can think about building things like smart cities, uh, building green energy projects, obviously out in
Yeah,
space
I mean,
exploration.
right. Like I think like I agree with everything you're saying, and I think everyone on the speaker board agrees with what you're saying. So I want to focus on topics which is a bit more near term. We have a very specific topic at hand, which is if you're the decision maker, would you put it out into the wild in the next couple of years, even if it's not near perfect, even if it stumbles upon a little bit, and even if it requires teleoperation? Yoda, would you do that?
Yeah, I think so. I think we're again very close to that kind of, version one pencils down, whereby it could be deployed in Tesla factories.
Okay, Sierra?
Yeah, I just wanted to expand a little bit on the idea of teleoperation. Teleoperation should not be a goal for the use of these bots. Teleoperation is a training method to give the bots a first-person perspective, hands-on training in how to carry out a task. But ultimately, the goal is autonomy. So I don't like to visualize a world in which we're having to teleoperate these bots. It is a training mechanism and a training method, and we might have to do it to teach them new skill sets, but ultimately it shouldn't really ever be the goal. The goal is for them to operate autonomously. So I think they'll start with grunt work, so to speak. You might have bots on, let's say, like a construction job site carrying around materials, etc., so that human labor can be focused on more skilled labor, and the grunt work is alleviated. And then during that time, through their vision systems, they're observing more skilled tasks being carried out and perhaps learning that way. But I just don't like to theorize on practical use cases of teleoperation, because really, what is that solving? Yeah, the human doesn't have to be physically there on site, but you're still paying a human to sit in front of a computer or wear a VR headset to operate the bot in really, really dangerous scenarios. It makes sense, like a radioactive site or somewhere that is not safe for humans to go. But I think those are a very small percent of use cases at scale.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Sierra. Robert and Alexander.
Yeah, teleoperation will always be a feature in the robot, even after AI. Even after it gets really good at walking around and interacting with us and doing 1,000 tasks with AI. So there, I disagree a little bit with Sierra, because embodying yourself into a humanoid robot is going to be a thing we do a lot, even if the robot is very capable with AI. But I agree with her totally that the goal is to get this to an AI bot. It also lets them open back up the Fremont factory for tours. And I wouldn't be shocked to see 20 or 40 of these things working on the factory floor. Mostly with teleoperation at first, but that would be the training that leads to the AI running the robot. And yeah.
Okay. This is a really good discussion. Very good discussion. We have a diverse set of opinions, various levels of expertise and background on the same speaker board, and very specific topic that is material to Tesla. I love it. We have a first principles discussion that's happening right now. If you love it as much as I do, please go up to the top of our screens to support the space. Click into that YouTube link, hit the like button, and subscribe to the channel. Subscription number is very important right now. That is the current limiting factor. I would really appreciate it if folks on X, if you could go up to the top of our screens, hit like and subscribe to the channel. Thank you very much, everybody. I'm going to share my thoughts on the matter after Alexander. Alexander, go ahead.
Yeah, anyone that has experience with companies where you sell a product where you have to have hands-on manual labor, and you have service guys driving like 20% of the work time, sitting in the car, just driving out to customers, you would know that you could save a lot of time to have like a teleoperated robot.
Yeah, so the distinction in my mind between why Tesla is sending FSD and cars out to millions of customers for human supervision, customer supervision, and not hiring millions of employees and having them drive millions of cars always on FSD is cost. Doing that would cost Tesla tens and tens of billions of dollars that Tesla cannot afford right now. But doing something similar to that in-house with humanoids is much less costly, and Tesla can afford to do that and accelerate the pace of learning. It's really about your optimizing for pace of learning. So having thousands of Optimus working on controlled environments like Tesla factories, supervised by R&D engineers in Tesla, in-house, is doable financially, but it's not doable on the automotive side, is I think a key distinction that we should consider. Let's go to Lauren and then Sierra.
Hey, well, one thing I was a little disappointed watching the presentation that they didn't talk about for the taxi network, like, hey, if this thing gets stuck somewhere, they're obviously going to need to build some kind of an infrastructure to have a human step in and help it out. But after thinking about it, I was really encouraged with the bot demonstration where it was so seamless. We don't even really know what was autonomous, what was human intervention. And it makes me feel a lot better that, like, obviously they have all the technical capabilities to, you know, if a robotaxi gets stuck somewhere and can't get out of a parking lot, to just seamlessly have a human fix it.
Thank you. Yeah, we're really focused on one topic right now, but I appreciate your input.
If you give me a sec, I have a little more to tie it back in, but like, bring it up.
Okay, go ahead.
So I think with the human operated with a bot or a robotaxi network, the end goal is to be totally autonomous, but I think there's going to be a long time where it can be mostly autonomous, but occasionally it gets stuck. And I think for both networks, like if you want to deploy these in your factories, it might do 99% of its work autonomously, but you might need to have one guy that's ready to, whenever one of the 100 robots you gets stuck somewhere, can step in, fix the issue autonomously from his office wherever he is. And I think it'll be a huge intermediate step that makes it practical to roll these out to a large organization.
Okay, thank you. Sierra? Sierra may be busy right now. Wave?
Oh, no, you cut out for a second. I'm sorry. I'm available.
Oh, okay, go ahead.
I just wanted to expand on what you said regarding cost efficiency of training FSD versus training the bots. I think another factor that affects why we, the users, are able to use supervised FSD is geography. There's tremendous value in having that product tested in as many geographical regions as possible all over the United States and Canada. Whereas the bots, I agree with you that it is also more cost effective to train in-house, but they can simulate, or not simulate, physically act out more practical tasks just with their own team, because the geography is not as important of data in that scenario.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, great discussion, guys. Okay, let's go to Echo Round. Echo Round and now Wave.
Yeah, could you remind us what the official timeline was for the Optimus? So it's supposed to be 2025. They're training internally, right? And then is it 2026 that they're already selling them? And as far as the teleoperation goes, I think Tesla, it would
Hold on,
be a
just 1
bad
second.
look.
Just 1 second. Before we go to that, I saw a thumbs down from Robert. Let's see if he has a correction.
Yeah, they did not give a timeline on Optimus. They give a timeline on Cybercab or the robotaxi. I think it's a little further away than that. The engineering effort to get this safe and capable is going to take longer than 2025. But
Yeah,
there
I
will
think
be Optimus in places working, yes, but not widely deployed, not in 2025.
Yeah, I think Echo Round was referring to previous comments in earnings calls and other events, not this specific event. But I agree with you, Robert, that it's going to take way longer than people think, I think, with Optimus. I think it's going to be faster overall than FSD, but we're still kind of at this stage where they're developing the hardware. They're not confident yet, even to let it, without being surrounded by guards, basically. So it's going to take a while to get the hardware, and then they have to build the Gigatex's Cortex, which we discussed with Omar as well in that YouTube video. Highly recommend people watch it. And even then, even on top of that, there's going to be some social friction, I think, friction in acceptance by the society. Let's go to Echo Round for his second part of what he had to say.
Yeah, as you said about the social friction, that's what I was going to say, is that I think it would be a bad look for Tesla to go to teleoperation before they've solved autonomy, because I think people are just not going to be comfortable with the idea that we are, because basically what it would be is just low wage workers teleoperating into the robots. And I think they really want to release it as a technology already, not just taking advantage of human labor scale, if that makes sense.
Thank you. Uzi, and then Alexander, then Sierra.
I didn't catch the end of what he was saying, but I caught the part on the supervisor for Optimus. I think that might become a new role for humanity or humans in general, where you're on the factory floor and now you have an engineer who's seeing a fleet of Optimus. How that transfers to the whole economy, it's quite a question.
Yeah, my point is low wage teleoperation. It doesn't make sense because the solution costs so much. The thing you would use it for is like the top people in the world that need hands-on labor. Then you instead of like flying them around the world, you could just use teleoperation.
Okay, I think did Sierra, let's go to Wave. Wave.
On teleoperation, the use case that I see after Tesla has solved the fail-safe kill switch, so they might have to take even liability at the beginning. There's a lot of things that we do today. I do teleoperation automation at home when I'm traveling. And then I can take it to the next level in terms of, food is provided for the pets, those type of things where you could bring teleoperation live when you're away from the home rather than having a house sitter or in a kennel or something, where the teleoperation can be done in a very specialized use case for people that can afford it if they can get the kill switch, safety, and cost down.
Sierra.
Not to be counterproductive here, but all of the examples that you just offered are something that ideally would be able to be carried out autonomously. There's no reason that a fully trained general intelligence humanoid bot could not feed your pets on a schedule and water your plants and check the thermostat, etc. I don't see a scenario where you would really need to teleoperate to carry out those types of mundane tasks.
Wave.
I agree. To be precise, the only reason I would use the teleoperation is for time to market, meaning it might take years before Tesla will take the liability to go end to end.
Interesting discussions. So we have a few people on the board and a bunch of people in YouTube live chat right now. I'm going to ask one question. One question. I would like everyone to respond to it. We're going to take turns on the speaker board. And if you're on YouTube live chat, please don't wait until you hear the answers from the speaker board. Just put your answer into the YouTube live chat. The question is, at what year will Optimus be in households? At what year will Optimus be in households? So in mass scale, okay, not just one or two in Kimball Musk's house or anything like that. We're talking, tens of thousands of households, let's say, or let's say tens of thousands. Because if you speak about hundreds of thousands, then you kind of talk about production ramp. This question is more focused on software readiness. Okay, so tens of thousands of households have Optimus in homes. Okay, so please put your answer into the YouTube live chat. If you have a guess, and then we're gonna go around the circle. I'm gonna leave Robert to the last. Let's go to Fleet Profit.
I'm going to throw a pessimistic guess of, not a guess, but a 30. I think it's going to be 3031. I think it's going to be ready before that, but 3031 before the public is ready to accept that on a mass scale.
Okay, let's go to Alexander.
2030.
Okay, echo round.
I'm optimistic 2028, but Q4.
Well, you're not as optimistic as Figure AI's CEO, who says in 3 years, definitely. Okay, let's go to JC. Let's go to Uzi.
I made sure to check out my Google Doc. I don't want to deceive anyone. Be coherent across time and space. Q3 2029.
Okay, let's go to Wave.
If the 10,000 is not Foundation Series, 2035.
Oh, wow. Okay. Here comes the bear. Here comes the bear. I'm kidding. Let's go to Sierra.
This is a tough one. I'm going to be super optimistic and probably wrong, but if I'm right, it'll blow your mind. So that's cool. I'm going to say late 2027.
Oh, wow. Late 2027. Wow. Okay. Let's go to Robert.
I'm with Sierra, late 2027.
Oh, wow. Okay. So this is why I left you guys to the last. This is amazing. I don't think I got Hustle Time. Hustle Time, did I get you?
No, but I'm in the camp of Q4 2029.
Okay. And I see in YouTube live chat, most guesses around 2029, 2030. There's one guess for 2035, and there's one guess for 2040. There's one guess for, okay, there's another guess for 2027. So similar range to what we hear from the speaker boards. This is incredible. The range of estimates is from 2027 to 2024. I was 2040. Oh my gosh. All right. That's a wild range for a simple question. Tens of thousands of Optimus in households. Wild range, which means there's a lot of debate to be had here. Let's go to Fleet Profit and then Sierra.
I'm just swinging back to the teleoperated. Does the board feel that teleoperation is going to act more like an intervention? We're going to jump in and correct or improve operation, or is it more of it's only for training, and once Optimus is out, it's all or nothing?
Yeah, that's the debate right now. I'm in the second camp, but some people are saying they're in the first camp. Let's go to Sierra.
I can quickly respond to that real quick. So I think we will always be able to intervene. I think people wouldn't feel safe without that as a feature. I think that will be a huge safety feature across the board across markets for humanoid bots is that we have a way to take over and intervene. I just don't think it will be the primary function. Like ideally, you'd only do that if something goes wrong. But I threw my hand up to say, as we're talking about timelines of mass adoption of AI or of robotics, that when we think about the timeline, it's important to note that we have not achieved AGI yet. So my timelines are always super optimistic because I think that the rate of acceleration is unfathomable to us once that happens. And I do think it's close.
Now, I appreciate the asterisk, Sierra. Thank you. I want to point out, it's incredible to me that on the speaker board, on YouTube live chat, and I was just looking through the X replies as well, same range from 2027 to 2040 plus. Amazing how consistent the wide range is from on different platforms. Robert.
I disagree that this is only going to be used for safety teleoperation. It's going to be a major feature of the robot when it gets into our homes. Hold on a second. Let's say you're on a trip in Germany or somewhere. You're going to be able to hop into your robot in your home and cook dinner with your wife, or play chess with her, or chase the kids around, right? Or do a variety of other things via teleoperation with the robot, even if it is completely AI driven and it is amazing and it does 10,000 tasks and it is smooth and safe and walks around the house without falling or anything like that. I think teleoperation is a major feature. I think that's one thing that we all missed from the demonstration. This feature is not going to go away even after it turns into an AI-driven bot.
That is an excellent point. What an excellent point. Robert Scoble brings the best point, I think, in my opinion, of the last few days, where we missed that teleoperation is going to be a major future of Optimus in the future. Let's say you're in China and your wife is in US and you want to have dinner. No, Robert, you're thinking you're going to put on your Apple glasses or Neuralink
some
dinner.
sort of glasses. I'm still expecting Tesla sometime the next decade to announce glasses, because glasses goes with the robot.
Or maybe even Neuralink after that, right?
That's Elon's answer every time I bring up glasses.
All right, let's go to JC. JC.
Hey, Yaman. Yeah, I've been listening to everybody, and by the way, it's Robert.
JC's having some connection issues. Let's go to Wave, Uzi, then Sierra.
Oh, hey, real quick, JC, maybe
I
drop
could
down and
hear
come back
JC.
up because Yaman couldn't hear you.
Who are you
Yeah,
going
I
to?
could hear him as well. I do agree 100% with Robert. It's teleportation of your, and that's exactly what I meant when traveling, is you can be there with your house or a loved one if the liability and cost issue is resolved, and that's why I picked the date.
Very good. JC?
Hey, Yaman, can you hear me better now?
Yes.
Yeah, I definitely love listening to Robert and Sierra talk about this stuff. They've obviously got about 50 more IQ points than me, so I'm going to defer to them on a lot. But you asked for my opinion. I just remember somebody made that statement once, that we overestimate what's possible in the near term and underestimate what's possible in the mid to long term. So I'm going to say early 2030s that these things are going to be in homes.
Very good. Thank you, JC. Let's go to Sierra.
I always love the perspective that Scoble offers on how we will actually use these bots to enhance human interaction because, and this is probably a longer discussion for AI amateurs, maybe we'll touch on it, but I am of the camp that if we're not very careful about how we develop the bots, we could really negatively impact relationships and societal interactions with one another. So I just appreciate the things that Scoble just mentioned. It's not really a future that I see for myself, but I'm also like not a FaceTime person. Like if I'm in China, I'm not going to FaceTime you to watch you eat dinner. So I'm probably not going to teleoperate into my Optimus to pretend to sit there with you and watch you eat dinner. But there is Scoble reminds me that there's a portion of the population that will use it that way. And I think it's great.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting. Very interesting. I mean, I have to give a word to Scoble now. Scoble, so you're in China, your wife is in US, and your wife says, I don't want to FaceTime you for dinner. I'm just going to enjoy dinner in peace by myself. What do you say to that?
That sounds like my wife. But there are times when she would need my help, right? If I'm on a business trip, she's actually the one who's usually on the business trip. So I'd like it if she could teleport into my house and hang out and play games or help cook dinner or just chase the kids around or whatever. You know, part of why I feel so strongly about this is I was teleoperated into a 1x.text humanoid robot. And it's quite amazing to be able to embody yourself into a robot. This is going to be something people do. Think about even with pets, right? Maybe you need to chase the pet off your couch or something like that. While you're at work, you can put on your glasses and see that your pet's misbehaving and go and chase the pet around or do other tasks around the house or even be a portable security camera kind of thing where, if something's going wrong at the house, you can walk around and do things. If you forget to turn off a stove, put on your glasses and jump into the robot and turn off the stove. Or maybe you will tell the robot to please turn off the stove. But teleportation is going to be a big, big feature in these things. Yeah.
All right, we're definitely gonna continue with this topic in AI Amateurs tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Central, 5 p.m. Pacific. So I highly recommend following the folks on the speaker board right now and going to the top of your screens, clicking to the YouTube link and subscribe to the channel. You can also watch AI Amateurs on that YouTube channel as well. Let's go to Alexander.
Most important question for Sierra. What will your Optimus safe word be?
Oh man, I haven't thought of one yet. You know what? Let me brainstorm on it and circle back to me tomorrow. I'll have a good safe word for you. Do you have one? What would yours be?
I didn't even think about that.
All right, everybody come up with their safe word for next time.
I think was it Elon who said my safe word is keep going or something like that. Anyway,
that has some sexual undertones. But I wanted to mention at the end of Scoble's rant, he made a great point of the hardware needed to if Optimus isn't autonomous. And so there's a question of Optimus being able to operate just as a teleoperated robot, which requires hardware, and then getting to what Sierra's describing with AGI. And it's very hard for our brains to capture at what point we will reach AGI and the exponential growth curve. But I think there will be a time where Scoble's correct. Maybe it's Meta with their glasses where people are using that and they can teleoperate. But I don't know if it'll be compatible between Tesla and Meta.
All right, here's what we're gonna do.
The rumor was that they were using quests from Meta Corporation to teleoperate into the Optimus.
All right. We have a great discussion going on. I look forward to more of it. I see hands. I see new speakers. We always welcome new speakers, fresh voices in the space. Everybody's welcome to request to speak. Nobody's blocked. Everyone can join, listen, request to speak, and say what they have to say. But before that, I want to say a shout out to our sponsors. But in the meantime, I would really like it if people in X could please go up to the top of our screens, click into the YouTube link, and like that button so that we can bring you more discussions like this. Once we get to 1,000 likes per episode, I'm going to scale these spaces to cover more detailed discussions. So you can help that process along by liking and subscribing on YouTube. And also, we have our third sponsor now, and I was in touch with her over the weekend. And I said, is there something you want me to read to my audience? And she said, why don't you pick your favorite Elon Musk quote, most inspirational Elon Musk quote, and say that? I was like, okay. So I'm going to say my Elon Musk quote in a second after I read these audio ads. Tesla Live is proudly sponsored by Paymore, your trusted destination for buying, selling, trading, and recycling electronics. Paymore believes that the best technology doesn't have to come at the cost of our planet or your wallet. Join the Paymore revolution today. Visit one of their stores near you or check them out online at paymore.com. And Tesla Live is proudly sponsored by Joa, your go-to source for premium Tesla accessories. At Joa, you'll find innovative charging solution, stylish interior upgrades, protective gear, and cutting-edge tech add-ons. Use the promo code TSLA Live at checkout to receive a special discount. Thank you, Joa and Paymore, for supporting Tesla Live and the Tesla community. All right, let's see what the like count is. Like count is 176. We're running low on like count. So I'm going to hold my inspirational Elon quote until we get above 300. Once we get to 300 likes, we'll talk about the quote. All right, Bull 2035.
Yeah, I don't know if anybody mentioned it, but I mean, the real point of being able to see through an Optimus is not from China. It's if you're on a different planet, right? And it really broadens the amount of people that might want to go to a different planet because we remember how terrible COVID was. We were isolated. This bridges the gap, which is awesome. And my question for Robert and maybe Sierra is the Apple Vision causes me headaches, nightmares, because it's not successful. People don't like it. What are they doing with headsets, and what can Tesla do with a headset to make it so people like using it?
Make it smaller, and those will come at the end of next year. Glasses are coming. I've seen the displays from LG, Samsung, BOE, which is a big Chinese company. They are a quarter the size of a sugar cube. They fit on the edge of the glass, shoving light into what looks like a glass, a piece of glass in front of your eyes, which is actually two pieces of glass with a polymer between it, with millions of little mirrors that makes a TV screen in front of you. And those are coming toward the end of next year or into 2026.
Robert, do you think Tesla will have to play in this glasses headsets game before, or do you think Neuralink is the kind of the solution for Tesla?
A full-on Neuralink, when you have thousands of wires directly on your brain, that's ways off from most everyday people. Now, Tesla could come out with a Neuralink pair of glasses with sensors on it that it lets you do some brain-computer interface work with glasses, and that would fit with the brand of Neuralink and with the research that they're doing on the human brain. And it would be quite capable compared to some of the others that are going to be on the market. I've seen glasses already that are coming from various companies that have a lot of eye sensors so that your brain is controlling the device at some level just by looking at things. add on a bunch of sensors on the sides of the glasses to read your human mind a little bit. That would be real interesting. I have here a device from a company called NextMind, which Snapchat bought, and it is a comb of about a dozen sensors that fits on the back of your head. And when I wear this and use it, it can sort of tell what I'm looking at, because your visual processing is done in the rear of your head. And if you didn't know this, you're all a machine as well. You're sort of like an Optimus. And when you're thinking or seeing or perceiving, your brain is spitting off a lot of electric signals that an AI computer can pick up. So could Neuralink develop a device like that that fits on the back of your head with a pair of glasses? Yes.
All right, thank you. Let's go to Uzi, then Wave.
No, I just want to say Neuralink as it currently stands as an invasive medical procedure that needs to be perfected with a modeled head, like 15 times of practice. That's never going to be done. I don't think that'll be done on scale, maybe as it stands, but it won't be like until like the 2050s, and that's the point at which maybe people start using that to become synchronized and more powerful. But I really think, if anything, it's glasses and a sensor attached to the back of the head. But you have to like normalize that surgery, which is way out of the bounds of Neuralink.
Okay, so you're telling me that I'm going to have an Optimus, but I'm going to use glasses or a headset, maybe by Tesla or maybe by Apple or somebody else, until Neuralink is available in mass. Uzi, is that your position? Yes or no?
I don't even think Neuralink will be available.
Just yes
in
or no.
mass.
Okay. That was a yes or no. Sierra, what's your position?
I just wanted to add some context to Uzi's prediction, absent my own opinion. But during the Lex Friedman interview of Elon and the Neuralink team on Neuralink, Lex very specifically asked Elon about a timeline for voluntary augmentation. And Elon said under 10 years. That was a direct quote from that interview. Whether or not I agree with that doesn't matter, but that was publicly stated. And I do think beyond interacting with Optimus, etc., we will have humans that voluntarily augment, even though it's invasive, because look at what was said about the next iteration of blind sight. So the first iteration of blind sight is going to restore sight to the blind. Incredible. But the second iteration of blind sight is actually going to give superhuman vision and allow humans to see visible light spectrums that we can't currently with the human eye, such as infrared and radar, and have night vision. So I think adoption might surprise us there, because if you've got a population of people out there with night vision and superior vision, more people might augment than what we're thinking right now, just because of the disadvantage to not.
Sierra, can you repeat the quote from the Lex Friedman interview? Just the quote.
I have it written down, but I don't have it in front of me. So, so not verbatim, but very closely. Lex said, and it was right on the tails of talking about blind sight. Lex said, "When will I be able to get a Neuralink?" And he made a guesstimation of, he said like 10, 15 years. And Elon said, oh, less than 10 years, less than 10.
Yeah, but Elon time. Robert says it's way beyond 10 years. Right, Robert? When do you think, Robert, I'm going to be able to get a Neuralink with thousands of threads?
For the full-on invasive thousands of wires directly on your brain, yeah, that tens of thousands. Ooh, that might happen in a decade, but I can't see it going mainstream anytime soon. But there's a whole lot of research on non-invasive, like this next mind I have here, brain-computer interfaces. Meta has a band that goes around your arm, and you can just think about shooting a gun, for instance, and it does, right? Or it gives you multiple arms. That kind of thing is really pretty cool. There's a lot of brain computer interfaces coming that don't require putting wires directly on your brain. And I think there's going to be a lot coming from Neuralink, because Neuralink understands the human brain better than most companies, better than I think any other company at this point. So, there's a lot of things that brain computer interfaces will do. And by the way, Apple is working on them too. They're putting sensors in future headphones to do all sorts of stuff with brain computer interface. And I'm in a lot of the shows that I do with Dylan, who's a researcher at Unity. He's been talking a lot about what's going on in the brain computer interface world, and I think there's a big future for non-invasive devices.
I don't know. This is starting to sound like vision only versus with LiDAR situation. Wave.
On the remote operation, I want to just include one other additional use case that has a very large, especially as the aging population, very large application, and that is elderly. Just think about once the safety and cost is resolved, you'd be able to help parents and elderly rather than putting them in a home to stay in home longer and help them with areas that they need help, be it from medication to security to cooking. So that probably be the most, I will purchase it just for that, given the cost and reliability. And if I'm operating it, I can do the kill switch real time as well.
Any other views, suggestions, recommendations, discussions, debates, rebuttals? Hands up, please. Wave.
And as far as speed, I don't think interface speed is an issue at all for foreseeable future with the remote operation, as long as you're dealing with physical world. So the key would be for, I think Robert mentioned that they use the Meta Quest. If they can productize that remote operation piece and cost down, that would be very useful. So I can have that in a suitcase and take it anywhere with me to be able to look in, and then have some scripts running. If there's an issue, I get a call, and then later on, maybe that call comes up on a glass that I can see if I need to go into that use case and help out a family member if needed.
Uzi, then Alexander.
Yeah, once we get to voluntary Neuralink, I guess, surgeries, that's when Elon described it becomes a double-edged sword, and we get to the sphere of human augmentation and I guess humanity's desire to, like, on an individual basis, improve themselves. I do think for the most part, there are some industries that prioritize speed, just like you see with like high frequency trading. So there will be humans that find a commercial advantage in using Neuralink. I think it just needs to be, the surgery needs to be normalized, and then the, I guess, effect or result of it needs to be so great that it overcomes the social stigma.
Robert, I don't know, man. I mean, we're going to continue this discussion AI amateurs tonight, but I hope it's not decades away. I hope it's not decades away. I hope I'm able to connect to multiple Optimus at once through Neuralink rather than having to wear glasses or headsets wave?
I think before having once you go inside someone's skull, the liability, the risk, and the variation between people is the biggest issue, and that's going to take time. But I think a LaForge type glasses, maybe with where you're able to even just see from Neuralink standpoint, I'm able to see infrared or be able to see other wavelengths that it's not visible to humans. That would be a nice product to have. I don't know if Apple's going to come up with that or another, maybe Meta.
All right. Thank you very much to those speakers who are hanging out in YouTube live chat to respond to questions over there. Steve says by 2027 for Optimus in households. Steve is a longtime supporter and also moderator in YouTube live chat. And Lupka says, and a year ago I was wondering why I can't control my blinkers with my thoughts. Let's see what else we got here. Hustle Town gives a shout out to Sierra in YouTube live chat. Ross says, I think Optimus is B2B way before we can order them for home use, like the semi. I mean, I think everyone agrees. Does everyone agree here that Optimus will be in factories, non-Tesla factories before it goes into households? Yeah, sounds like everybody agrees with that. And Elon, I think, said pretty much that too. First Tesla factories, then non-Tesla factories, then households. Robert, what do you say about Figure AI CEO, founder and CEO saying it's going to be definitely in households in 3 years? Do you think he's kind of trying to raise capital here?
No, 1x.tech says they're coming next year, but that is a teleoperated robot with a lot of AI behind it. I might have one in my house this year. So I'm working with 1x.tech company trying to figure out if I can get one, but I'm in consideration for it. So there will be some homes this year that have a humanoid robot in them. It's just whether it's going to be a complete AI run thing. This brings up a new privacy problem because, you know, my kids and my wife run around the house naked sometimes. And if there's a human embodied in my robot, that leads to a new kind of privacy problem that I think most humans are not ready to take on.
Interesting. Well, thanks, Robert. Let's go to Alexander.
Yeah, Robert, do you know if 1X is going to produce the units in Norway or somewhere else?
I think their manufacturing is in Norway. Their AI team is in Silicon Valley. So I would assume they're going to make them overseas, but I don't know.
Seems flex.
Hi, what are we talking about today? It sounds like the use cases for Optimus and integration.
All right. Ready Player.
Hey, thanks, Yaman. I know, Robert, you were talking about how once we start to bring in Optimus, if we have similar to unsupervised, as we want to get to unsupervised, we start with supervised, where today that's teleoperated and some of the discomfort. I think that could be resolved as you transition any capability that Optimus would take on with even the Instagram filters. The technology is there. When I say Instagram filters, where body parts could be blurred out, even the entire person. There could be privacy where only what's needed to be known could be part of that use case. So I think there could be, I think it's something interesting to talk to as anything goes unsupervised to then unsupervised for every capability over time. Over.
Thank you. All right. We are about to reach 200 likes. Our third sponsor asked that I say my favorite Elon Musk quote, most inspirational. My all-time favorite, I think, has got to be the one he says, starting a company is like staring into the abyss and eating glass. That's my all-time favorite, I think. And then more recent one is the most inspirational, more recently is go fuck yourself. I think maybe not giving a fuck about, these advertisers when they're threatening you was a key moment in Elon Musk history. Wait.
My favorite quote is, "Don't panic."
All right, great. All right, should we, any other questions, comments? If you're listening on X, I would really appreciate if you could go up to the top of our screens and give it a like and subscribe. The YouTube channel right now is limited by number of subscribers. Everything else is doing fine. We're doing really well on click-through rates, average view duration, engagement, number of comments is increasing nicely. Engagement live chat is doing well. What else? Watch hours are doing well. Likes are doing well, but we need more subscribers. We need more subscribers to get the channel in front of new viewers, and so that the algorithm knows to do that. So right now it's still very new. So you can accelerate that process by subscribing to the YouTube channel, giving a like to the videos, engaging in live chat, sharing the YouTube channel with others. I would really appreciate it if you could all do that. Thank you very much, everybody. And tonight we're going to continue with AI amateurs. I'm sure we're going to talk about Optimus, what we saw at the event. So highly recommend everyone join AI amateurs tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Central, and 5 p.m. Pacific. I think AI amateurs will play a role in accelerating the adoption of AI in the world in the coming years. So I'm looking forward to tonight's discussion with Robert Scoble and Sierra and Uzi and Alexander and Filmflexity and Hustletown and everybody else who wants to join. Really appreciate it. Maybe not Alexander because it's going to be like 5 a.m. over there in Europe. But anyway, thank you very much, everybody. I really enjoyed today's episode, and I will talk to you guys in a couple of hours. Take care.